Even though Microsoft got into the console wars in late 2001, that hasn't stopped them from being the most powerful and consumer-friendly console that's currently on the market. As of this recording in 2023, Microsoft is still supporting 5 different Xboxes at the moment. Today, we're going to figure out which one is the right one for you. Now, we all know Microsoft has trouble naming consoles, so I'm going to break this down one at a time so we both don't get lost. First up, we got the Xbox One. Came out towards the end of 2013. Came in either 500 gigabytes or 1 terabyte for the storage, and had a few special editions, with the Forza Motorsport 6 edition being my favorite one. Still have it with the box. That makes race car engine noises when you start up and eject the discs. While this is going to be the cheapest Xbox on the list, it's also the oldest. Has a big, giant, nasty power supply that takes up a lot of space, and is the only Xbox here not capable of outputting the 1440p or 4K. You can regularly find this one for around $100 or even less if you're buying it at a garage sale or a local store. Next up is going to be the Xbox One S. Make sure you're paying close attention to these names because you're going to easily mix them up, especially with the newer ones. You got a little bit of an upgrade on the CPU and GPU here, but the biggest differences you're going to see is HDMI 2.0 and it having a UHD Blu-ray drive now. While it supported a higher frame rate over the original Xbox One, most games did not take advantage of it at the time. At least it did shed that big nasty power supply of the Xbox One and the old Xbox 360s. Also has a more refined and a little bit sleeker model than the original Xbox One. The Xbox One S doesn't go for too much more than the Xbox One does, at around $150, maybe even cheaper, like I said, if you can find one locally. Next up is the last Xbox model of last gen, and it's going to be the Xbox One X. Now here, it can start to get hard recommending a model, especially if you want 1440p or 4K output. The Xbox One X could output 4K, but like I said before with the One S, not a lot of games took advantage of the resolution or frame rate at the time. Most of it is upscaled to 1080p. Shortly after the Xbox One X's launch, Microsoft and other developers went back to add FPS and resolution boost to some older games to show off the raw power of the new Xbox. This was the most powerful console at the time of release. At the moment, you can find the Xbox One X complete and in good working order for around $200 or a little bit more if you were looking to do a bundle. Unfortunately, Microsoft doesn't sell the Xbox One line on their website or in retail stores anymore, but you'll definitely be able to find some locally or on eBay, but I would avoid DK oldies. That does it for the Xbox One line and the last generation of Xbox consoles. Games are still being made for them, and the online store is still active along with online still working. Next up, we'll be looking at the current gen Xboxes. First, we're going to start off with the Xbox Series S and break it down. Now remember when I said earlier, pay close attention to the names of these consoles. You can easily get confused when you're trying to buy an Xbox One S, or in this case, we're now on to the Xbox Series S. There's going to be some big differences, especially since it's a next-gen console. It's going to have a much more powerful processor, GPU, and higher gigabyte of RAM inside the console. There is what I consider to be 2 big downsides with this console. The first is it only comes with 500 gigabytes of storage. That's not going to cut it for how big these next-gen games are, so keep that in mind. It does have an expansion slot, but since it is newer technology for the hard drive, they are a bit pricey at the moment. The other downside would be that it does not have a disk drive. It is an all-digital console. I know a lot of you don't buy physical media anymore, but as a collector, it does break my heart that there is no disk drive there. With those cutbacks by Microsoft, they were able to get the Xbox Series S out the door for a much lower price than the Xbox Series X. And as Bob Barker would say, the price is right. $299.99. Come on down. The Xbox Series S is available on Microsoft's website and in most retail stores, readily in stock. If you don't want to dish out the 300 plus tax up front, they do have a monthly payment system. I'll link how many years it is, but they'll let you pay $25 a month, and it will also include Xbox Game Pass for you. Next up is the biggest, baddest console ever made by Microsoft, the Xbox Series X. Unlike the previous Series S, the Series X is going to have a disk drive, and instead of 1440p as their targeted resolution, it's going to be 4K. You're going to get that extra 500 gigabytes of storage on the Series X. The Series X is also going to have a bigger CPU, GPU, and 6 more gigs of RAM. The price for the Xbox Series X is going to come in at $499.99, or if you want to do the monthly payment plan over the 2 years, it's going to be $35 a month, and that also comes with Game Pass. Believe it or not, at one point I have actually owned every Xbox on this list today. That is why I wanted to put a list together, try to make it easier for all of you to figure out what Xbox is right for you or right for the person you're buying one for. As for everyone else that already has an Xbox One or an Xbox Series console, let me know what your favorite one is down below, or what kind of special collector's edition console you may have. And thank you all for checking out the video, and have a good one.